In 1955, the roar of American engines echoed across the highways, but one car stood out for all the wrong reasons. The 1955 Ford Thunderbird, flashy and fast, was also dangerously under-equipped. No seat belts, stiff suspension, and drum brakes made high-speed driving risky. The V8 engine was powerful but loud, shaking the cabin with every rev. It was a thrill to drive, until things went wrong. In 1955, beauty came with a price: noise and danger. Dear viewers, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. Number 5, 1955, Pontiac Chieftain. The new 287 cubic inch Stratostreak 5.8 was a big step forward in power for Pontiac, but it was not subtle. Under throttle, it produced a loud, droning sound typical of carbureted V8s, without any modern muffling or sound insulation. The Chieftain's body was solidly built, but the interior was thinly padded. Floorboards, firewall, and doors had minimal sound-deadening materials, so road noise and engine vibration came right through. Many models came with the Hydra-matic automatic, which was reliable but had a notoriously loud gear whine, especially in low gears. This added to the perception of mechanical harshness. The car's large windows and seals weren't precise by modern standards. At highway speeds, air leaks around the doors and windshield created a high-pitched wind howl. The Chieftain rode on a soft, comfort-tuned suspension with leaf springs and coil springs, which meant it floated nicely on smooth roads but lacked cornering control. It came with narrow, bias-ply tires that offered little grip in emergency maneuvers. The drum brakes all around were common at the time, but fade was a big issue on hills or in repeated use. With such a heavy car, stopping distances were long. The recirculating ball steering system was vague and slow to respond, which meant poor control in emergency swerves or evasive maneuvers. The interior was styled with hard chrome and steel, no padding. In a crash, the driver or passenger could be launched into metal knobs or trim, causing head or chest injuries. Seat belts were not offered as standard. Many Chieftains were sold without any belts at all, and headrests didn't exist, increasing the chance of whiplash or fatal injury. A known issue across most 1950s cars, the long, rigid steering shaft was pointed directly at the driver's chest. In a frontal crash, it could impale or crush the driver. Crumple zones and energy-absorbing designs hadn't been adopted yet. The frame and body were rigid, so crash forces were transferred directly to occupants. The 1955 Pontiac Chieftain was bold, chrome-covered, and powerful. But it lacked basic crash protection. It was loud and unrefined inside, and it was difficult to control in sudden situations. Number 4. Most 1955 Arrows came with a flathead 6-cylinder, or small inline-6 engine, which by that time was underwhelming against V8 competitors. These engines were noisy under acceleration and strained at highway speeds. With low gearing and minimal torque, the engine had to rev high just to maintain cruising speed. That led to a persistent mechanical whine, especially above 50 miles per hour. The Arrow's lightweight construction came at the expense of cabin insulation. There was almost no sound-deadening material, so engine noise, wind noise, and road rumble all filled the cabin. The Willys Arrow was built light to be economical, but that also meant thin-gauge steel, a small crumple footprint, and a narrow body, all of which contributed to terrible crash survival. Like many 1950s cars, it came with no seat belts, no padded dash, and no side impact reinforcement. Even moderate crashes could cause serious injury. The rigid steering shaft pointed directly at the driver's chest, a common issue. And in any front-end impact, the car posed a lethal threat. Drum brakes were standard, and with a light body and basic suspension, the car could lock up or swerve easily in emergency stops. The 1955 Willys Arrow was economical and compact, but that came at a steep cost in terms of noise, constant droning at speed, performance, underwhelming power, safety, zero protection in collisions. It's remembered today more as a curious endnote in Willys' history than a competitive car from its time. Number 3, 1955 Lincoln Capri. Powered by a 341 cubic inch 5.6-liter Vi-8, the Capri delivered serious torque, but also a lot of low-frequency exhaust boom, particularly under throttle. Refinement was not its strong suit. The drive shaft and rear axle setup transmitted vibration into the cabin, especially at higher speeds or under load. NVH, noise, vibration, harshness, insulation was minimal. Despite its size and luxury ambitions, wind sealing wasn't great, and the suspension amplified road harshness on anything but smooth pavement. Tipping the scales at over 4,000 pounds, the Capri had drum brakes on all 4 wheels. These would fade quickly in downhill driving or repeated panic stops, posing a serious risk of brake failure. Like most cars of the 1950s, the Capri had no seat belts, no crumple zones, and a rigid steering column pointed at the driver's chest. Its steel dash and hard trim also increased injury risk in any collision. The Capri featured soft suspension tuned for comfort, not control. This meant poor cornering stability, nosedive under braking, and rear-end swing in wet or abrupt maneuvers. Loud mechanical operation and poor noise isolation. Brake fade risks under normal driving stress. Lack of basic safety features, typical of the era, but particularly dangerous given its size and mass. Its performance and luxury claims were undermined by serious safety and refinement shortcomings. Number 2, 1955. Nash Ambassador. Nash's innovative cabin air system, designed for constant airflow and defogging, was louder than expected. Fans and ducts often amplified road and engine noise, making the cabin less serene. While reliable, the 6-cylinder engine lacked smoothness, especially compared to V8-powered rivals. It produced more mechanical chatter and vibrated noticeably under acceleration or load. Despite some forward-thinking design touches, panel alignment and window sealing were weak, leading to noticeable wind noise at speed. Nash was one of the first American automakers to adopt unibody architecture, which improved handling and weight reduction. However, early unibody structures offered little crash energy absorption, meaning impact forces were often transmitted directly to occupants. Like most cars of the time, the Ambassador lacked seat belts, padded dashboards, or side impact protection. The rigid steering column and sharp interior trim created serious injury risks in crashes. Even with the more modern unibody, the Ambassador was bulky, and its drum brakes were underpowered for its weight. Emergency handling and stopping were questionable at best. While the 1955 Nash Ambassador had a futuristic image and some clever engineering, it was compromised by loud and unrefined ride, particularly inside the cabin primitive crash safety, especially inside or frontal collisions, no restraint systems or energy-absorbing features. It was a bold attempt at modernity, but it came before true safety engineering caught up. Number 1, 1955 Dodge Royal Lancer. The standout feature was the red Ram Hemi 5.8, a relatively compact hemispherical head engine that delivered strong performance for the mid-1950s. Horsepower ranged from about 183 to 193 horsepower, depending on configuration. Impressive for the time. Most Royal Lancers came with Dodge's PowerFlight 2-speed automatic. While advanced for its era, it suffered from slow shifts and abrupt engagement, often accompanied by a clunk or surge. It used a body-on-frame construction and relied on coil springs in front and leaf springs in the rear, tuned for comfort. This setup gave a cushy ride, but allowed excessive body roll and pitch, especially under braking or sharp turns. No crumple zones, no collapsible steering column, no seat belts, and a metal dash with protruding controls meant even low-speed crashes could be deadly. Head and chest injuries were common. In some instances, poorly designed door latches could pop open during a collision, ejecting occupants, a major safety flaw of the era. Four-wheel drum brakes were standard, and while effective when cool, they overheated easily, especially in mountainous driving or emergency stops, drastically increasing stopping distances. Offered two-tone paint, flashy chrome, and a somewhat plush interior for its price point, but the refinement didn't extend to acoustics or ergonomics. Most of the interior was hard plastic, painted metal and vinyl, with little attention to occupant protection. With minimal sound insulation and aging weather seals, wind roar, road vibration, and engine drone made highway cruising fatiguing. Convertibles, especially, were notoriously loud. The steering was slow and required many turns lock to lock, and the suspension allowed for significant nosedive under braking and rear-end lift, reducing traction when it mattered.